It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 503. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Hello.
Grace.
Hello.
Kodra.
Howdy.
Tam.
Hello.
And Thalen.
Hey there.
So, I think we talked about this a little bit. It was going to be a thing last show. But Path of Exile II Early Access launched on Friday. I guess that was just yesterday.
It was just yesterday.
Like, Lord, did it kind of take the world by storm. Like, I knew there were potentially going to be server issues when it hit number 3 on the global top seller list on Steam, but it hit number 1 and like for quite a while and pushed everything out of the way for probably what was a lot of $30 sales.
So I did not get to play this at all until about 11 p.m. Eastern time last night. So on Friday, I've had basically zero problems. Like, this is a miracle.
Oh, as soon as the servers came up properly, I've had no issues.
It was fine. It was fine.
I've had
Remarkable.
some issues today, but yesterday I was in shock that I got home kind of late, logged in, and was like, oh, there's a 20,000 person queue. I'm going to go make some dinner. And in less than 30 minutes, that queue was up and I was in. And there was no queue for the rest of the night. That was so wild.
Well, and even when there's been a queue, because like there's been a couple of situations where something happened today and it reset the server and a bunch of people got knocked off and it would create a queue, but the queue would drain super fast.
I like grinding gear games. Deployment engineers take about. Like, this is amazing. Like, you have onboarded to net new cloud capacity in a shocking turnaround.
Like, there were roughly 2 hours past when they thought they were going to go live, but still
Whatever.
Pretty miraculous.
That's remarkable.
And it's especially fascinating because it is this year that PoE 1 had server problems.
Yes.
Yep.
So I think the other really interesting thing about this whole situation is just how good they've been with communication throughout all of it. Like, from the 3-week delay in the go live to them sharing their concerns that they'd passed 1 million sales of keys, that there might be issues. Like,
they did run out of Steam keys.
Yeah, they like, there's been all sorts of weird little things that happened. Like, there were issues with the pre-download, which was hilarious because Steam was working fine, but anybody that was trying to do the direct client was having issues. But then they ran out of Steam keys from people like consuming them late. But like, they delivered very clear, concise, straightforward information about all of this. Like, zero spin, just like, this is what happened. This is what we think is going to happen. Oops, we screwed up the database, and everybody was creating characters with the same character ID, so we have to wipe that now. Like, there's a whole like thread of things that was going on yesterday and them trying to get out the door. But it's the communication has been amazing.
It's been really, really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, we've just talked a lot about infrastructure, but it's been impressive that I already have like a lot of takes on this game. I've gotten to play a lot.
Well, I'm looking forward to some takes because I haven't bought this game yet. I'm waiting to hear what the varied opinions are from you guys.
I have a lot of fucking hats to eat.
All right, maybe I'm buying this game.
There's definitely opinions. I've got a lot of different opinions. Not what I was expecting.
It's I was not originally going to be able to make it for the show, and I am really glad that I can because I feel like it's going to be fascinating.
Like, go for it.
I was gonna. Well, you go for it. You've got a more traditional take. I'm curious where your thoughts are here.
I've been all over the place. Like to some extent, there's a lot of compelling things going on with the game, but I've also been deeply frustrated with the game at many points. I think I chose the incorrect class to start. And like I thought it was maybe just a me thing, but like I've popped around on a bunch of other streams today, and like warrior starts are apparently very hard, and like it was fine until I started getting into some of the tougher bosses in Act 1. And like there's a lot of not forgiving melee bosses. So the way I have gotten through things is by overleveling, and I feel like the passive is mostly kind of useless. Like there's not a lot of power being gained from the passive tree.
Wait, what?
What?
The warrior starts off near a bunch of power.
Yeah, but it's not enough. Nowhere even
Fair.
close to enough. Like the calculations have changed, and like I think they've watered down the impact that those nodes have on anything. Like I have specifically beelined down to the Juggernaut always stay alive node that is now on the tree. The one that was basically the Juggernaut ascendancy thing of like X amount of recouped or physical damage is recouped his life. Like that doesn't even make a dent in the amount of damage that I take. Like I now have a Herald with both clarity and vitality on it, and that doesn't really seem to make any difference. The problem with warrior is not so much damage I am taking. It is amount of mana that I am spending, and I have no good way of getting it back other than a potion.
Well, this is going to sound blasphemous. Are you using your normal attack?
Yeah, but like the problem is like I only get one hit before having to duck out. So it better be a good one. Like it's not a trash mob thing problem. It's a boss problem.
Yeah.
Where I basically like I'm fighting a battle of attrition. Do I kill the boss or do I run out of potion charges?
I do think potion regen during boss fights is like that was the one way I died to a boss was fighting the witch and like basically running out of potions and being like, well, I lose now. It was like it did make me think, oh, it would be really helpful to get a potion that A gives me more health back, and because I was still using the starter potion, and B consumes fewer charges. So I went and spent some gold on that. Make sure you're spending gold to upgrade your potions when you can.
And weapons.
Yeah, and your weapons. That's a little bit trickier, I find.
Yeah, like I have found exactly 2 regals in my entire playthrough. I've found a bajillion D exalts. So like crafting things has been hard.
I picked up several new weapons and they've all been on the vendor. Like that's where my new weapons have mostly come from.
Yep.
So I've gotten up to like Skeletal Warrior 4 just on weapons from the vendor.
Is Skeletal Warrior a spell that is on your weapon?
Yep.
Ah, okay. I don't have to worry about that. I use a crossbow. My crossbow deals damage. That's what I care about. And all of my attacks scale with its damage. Well, so what skill are you using, Bell? I'm curious in melee.
The big combo that I'm using is I kind of forget, rolling slam.
Rolling double smash.
Yeah, the rolling big smash thing. Also Infernal Cry, also Shockwave Totem, also Bone Shatter whenever they've got a stun ready to go so that they explode. But like mostly it's a lot of rolling smash or whatever that attack's called. Which is it's a fun ability, but it's awkward because like it's got like a 1.5 long animation. And if you interrupt it, you don't do the good damage. So you have to very carefully time it as you're going towards the target. And and then my main mace attack has got like a fire gem in it, and I think it's execution, so that it deals more damage when it's low, so that I can potentially finish things off with that.
You
Like,
you know what I love though is the fact that I can read all of these abilities and there are keywords and I can click on the keywords and they can tell me what those keywords mean and that those descriptions can have keywords and I can learn how to play this game within this game.
Yeah, like
Finally.
I mean,
so I
that's a good thing. I just wish it were a little bit more enjoyable.
I went into this with like I am going to make a particular effort. I'm not going to read up on this. I'm not going to go through people's data mining all the abilities. I'm not going to read all of this. How do you build? And I'm going to play the game like a new player and see what that experience is like. I'm never playing PoE1 again. I'm just done with it. Like that. So many parts of this the basic experience of playing PoE1 are so much worse than what they've done with PoE2 here that I'm not going back. You can't make me. Just the usability is so much better.
I am also kind of in this boat.
Like everything. So I've played 3 different classes right now. I've played sorcerer, I've played warrior, and I played a little bit of monk. And I specifically picked those because PoE1, like I went into this and I'm like, hey, you know what ARPGs are just classically fucking terrible at? Melee. Like melee is just absolute misery in these games. Why would I ever play a melee class? They suck. Let's see if I'm wrong. And I don't think I'm wrong. I think I'm exactly as right as I am every other time there's been a melee class in one of these games. I just think that they do there's a in many of these you are quote unquote a melee class, but really you're making things that are labeled melee attacks that are still filling up the screen with projectiles or whatever.
Yeah, that is my favorite PoE1 melee ability is Sunder, which creates a line of earthquake across the entire screen.
Right. Like melee is really stretching the definition by quite a lot. I mean, the closest you ever get is some kind of whirlwindy ability, and even then, ideally, your whirlwindy ability is not hitting just in melee. You're hitting a much wider area around you, and they seem to be more serious about melee attacks being melee range in a lot of cases. So yeah, warrior is rough. It feels like it's rough in the kind of way a balance patch can fix.
Yeah, I'm hoping it can be fixed. But like right now, it's out of band with other things.
Yeah, like it is noticeably less powerful than either monk or sorcerers.
Like I think there's probably a point in time where it begins to swing the other way.
Yeah,
But that's really far down the line because like at 25, I still feel super weak most of the time.
yeah. And I think that's sort of the big like this is not a game. My experience so far is this is not a game without issues, but the issues are not philosophical. Like
Okay, good.
every time I play,
I disagree to some
Yeah,
extent.
I think I have a slightly different take on that, just based on having maybe gotten a little bit further into things. And the philosophical piece, I think, is the same mistake that D4 made when it launched, which is like, we're gonna be quasi-Soulsian, we're gonna have really big bosses that you have very little margin of error for, and they take a long time to kill, and you feel sort of everything is a bit ponderous. And like some of that is great in the end game of an ARPG, but man, when I am in chapter 2 of the story and still leveling, that is not what I want. It doesn't mean every fight has to be a complete pushover, but like the early bosses and mini bosses, I had no trouble with my minion build. I think I was having an easier time than a lot of other folks early on. But as I got to the end of Act 1 and then into Act 2, everything just slowed way down and there's very little margin of error. And I don't want to have to go back and spend 30 minutes trying to level up a couple extra times before I go back and fight a boss in the middle of the story. Like, that's the thing that I don't mind trying to do in the end game when I'm trying to get an edge over a difficult boss, but it's not what I want while I am leveling. So that's the
Yeah.
philosophical thing I think I am not in love with here.
That's fair, but that still feels like something that can be fixed with a balance patch. Whereas like PoE 1 being like, hey, fuck you if you don't read a build guide. What are you even doing, you scrub? And like also fuck you if you didn't like read a wiki on how to understand how to read a tooltip, or if you don't like our default control scheme, like, no, we're not gonna give you any tools to do anything about that.
Yeah,
Like that's the kind of baseline philosophy where it's like you will play this game the way we have decided you're going to play this game, and if you don't want to do that, then go play a different game.
yeah. Like,
Whereas
this game has definitely got a better onboarding process.
Absolutely.
This game would like me to play it, and is not jerking me around with obtuse UI or weird control settings that I can't change. Like I can easily switch from like mouse and keyboard to a controller. Like just as a baseline. It's not as easy as other games where it's just a matter of now I'm using the mouse and keyboard, like I have to go into a menu, but it's not like decide this before you log in. That's sort of what the game does not feel like it actively dislikes me. It absolutely has balance issues. There's no question about that. But like I don't expect it not to have balance issues.
I mean, in general, I would expect them to err on the side of too hard to start with.
Yeah.
You can always make things easier. Making things harder later on, that's tough.
Probably controversially, I like the slower pace because I feel like enemies matter in a way that they just don't. In PoE 1, is your build good enough to make a mockery of everything that appears on screen forever? Okay. If not, then like, what are you even doing?
But I mean, that's counter. Like, I appreciate that that's, your perspective playing through this game, but it's just counter to ARPG culture and like the history of this genre and where it seems to have landed in the last few years.
It possibly, but I remember Diablo 1 having a similar pace to it. Like this feels like a callback to the very earliest, concepts in the genre.
We went back and played Diablo 2 for Games of the Month a few years ago.
No one liked it.
Correct. But like that was one of the things it had. Like it takes a long time before you can get a character that can just sort of crush everything on screen in that game.
And I don't feel like I'm not powerful. Like as a sorceress, like I feel like I'm powerful. I just don't feel like enemies live exactly long enough for me to register that they are different. And every so often I'll run into an enemy that I'm like, oh, this is an interesting enemy. As opposed to, I could not tell you the difference between enemy types of any kind through any part of PoE 1 or even Last Epoch, frankly. Like there's just no enemy that registers as meaningful, including bosses.
I would say Last Epoch does a significantly better job of this than PoE does.
But but not like a lot.
Those stupid bats in the forest dungeon killed me so many times.
The big slam dudes in the end of time areas.
In this game, in the very first, the second zone, I guess, the guys that put circles on the ground, I hate those guys. I spot them and then I rush towards them and I put a shotgun in their face.
The spell reflect, the projectile reflect guys are brutal. Like what an awful enemy to deal with, but it's interesting to deal with them. Like I have to think about what I'm doing. It doesn't feel like this game wants me to play it with one button.
I think the challenge that I have right now is, this is the way that this campaign is structured. I don't know that I want to play this every season. Like, I don't know that I'm going to want to play this much more often than once through.
I mean, I think you have to recall how it
This is
felt
the
to play
first time.
how it felt to play PoE 1 the first time you played through the campaign. And boy, that was significantly worse than this. I think the thing that I don't love right now going through the campaign is knowing that I am going to have to do it again before I get to the end game this time around. And that is a choice that they made, and I am disappointed in it. Like, I think it's going to be fine to get through this. And I really, really want to see what the end game is like. There's so much promise there. But having to play through the story twice to get there feels like a punishment.
Yeah, I understand why they made that choice, but yeah, I'm not. That does not make me excited.
I think that I feel the same way about this game as Bell feels about Last Epoch, where it'll get there. It's probably not there right now, but it'll get there.
Oh, I'm sure it will. What the biggest thing that concerns me about the end game is their decision to make it so that you get a single life per map.
I kind of agree with that.
I
but
take
also,
a lot of random deaths in this game, like
I was actually
really
about to say the
random
opposite.
deaths.
I have never been killed by something that I did not know what killed me.
Yeah, I have not even once have I had a death where I'm like, I don't know why I died.
I've had a lot of stupid deaths, but
I mean, yes,
knew
I walked
why
into
they
something
happened.
dumb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't. When I died, I went, oh, that thing killed me. I should pay attention to it next time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's already a massive improvement over PoE 1.
And it does it.
It's still early. we can get those moments later.
Sure.
But it does it with it does it without me. What's the word I'm looking for? It does it without me like needing to. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it does it without like popping up a bunch of things that tell me like, this is what killed you, this is where the damage came from, this is the enemy. Like, I just know.
Although if it had that, I wouldn't be sad.
I wouldn't be sad.
Yeah.
Right. Like the extra information wouldn't make me sad, but
they've done a good job at I kept dying to those circles on the ground, and I was like, oh, those circles on the ground hit so hard. I know why I died here.
Yeah.
The circles on the ground have killed me more than anything else.
I mean, my most deaths so far comes to the Ice Witch in the very, very first zone, like second zone technically, where I learned that I need to have an AoE attack of some kind on this character that hits more than just a cone in front of me.
All I have as option, well, that's not true. I have grenades. I also have most of my AoE options are cones in front of me, and they are shotguns. And shotguns are awkward right now.
Are you experiencing weird issues with aiming? I'm just curious.
No, not at all. No, my biggest issue with the shotgun is the fact that each reload gives me exactly one shot before I have to reload again. And so, like, shotgun means attack speed doesn't matter.
Weird.
Because everything is, like, shoot, reload, like, 8.8 second reload in between. That's
just if you can speed that up with casting speed.
There is reload speed on the passive tree.
Got it.
In in crossbow specific nodes.
I guess much like mine throwing speed, it is very specific.
It's very specific, and it's a little annoying. And so my solution in the future is to go with something where mostly I am not going to be shooting my shotgun. I am instead going to be putting down grenades and using explosive shot, which triggers my grenades early, which is good because my grenades fuses is so long. Everything about the class I am playing feels like it's extremely slow and ponderous, and there is going to be a build I see coming together that cheats around all of that for extremely powerful effects.
Yeah, right now I'm mainly YOLOing my way through a fire lightning build, and the combos are fun enough that I'm like, this is cool. I enjoy this. I don't even particularly love the main ability I'm using. It's just fun.
So the first ability you get as a witch is Unearth, which makes some minions when you hit corpses or kill things. It's kind of nice. The first ability I chose on my own was Skeletal Archer, which they tell you can be giving gas clouds, and that you can set those gas clouds on fire. Well, the next ability I picked up was Firewall. And yeah, it turns out setting gas clouds on fire, real good.
Yeah, I made the mistake of not doing this thing, and I combined my minions with a plague dot, a couple of them. And while that gameplay is fun and it murders swarms of things pretty effectively, it is less good for bosses. Blowing up bosses with a gas cloud and a firewall is way, way more effective.
So I do have a fragmentation shot, which just says, hey, if this hits a frozen enemy, they shatter. So there's definitely a build out there that I'm tempted for in the future, which is what if I can build up freeze and drop ice crystals and then hit fragmentation shot on all of that for shattering damage. The trick is going to be figuring out probably a good way to make things frozen without ideally having to switch ammo. Because unless, I guess, this is probably why Gemling Legionnaire is a mercenary ascendancy, because then you can at least support 2 crossbow skills. Because a lot of crossbow skills want the same supports, like reloads, like faster reload speed.
I think my biggest critique of the game right now is that survivability is too low at low levels. Like, it is a little too unforgiving and a little too easy to get like stun locked to death.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a game that is going to make more sense in the future. But like this is the problem with a lot of these ARPGs, is the moment they are hardest is at the very beginning, and then after that you gain the power that makes a lot of the game easier.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I am hesitant to say too much one way or the other, because I really need to see what the end game feels like before I make any kind of final outlook. Because the things that feel slow and frustrating while I'm leveling, and I do think that having a little better survivability would help with some of the issues that I'm feeling. You know, none of that might matter even a little bit by the time you get to the end game, and I just, I haven't gotten there yet. I haven't seen what it's like yet. And I'm excited to, because I do like, unlike PoE 1, I have basically been YOLOing my way through the skill tree, and it's been okay. I haven't gotten stuck at the very first boss and given up like I did several times in PoE 1 before I finally looked up a build guide.
Like, that's a big thing for me, is I am not a big like end game player in ARPGs. Like, I lose interest. Like, when it becomes do basically the same thing over and over and over again, I lose interest very fast. But like, I actually care about seeing it, as opposed to PoE 1, where I need to be convinced that it was worthwhile to go through all of the stuff I didn't like in order to find something that I might. My comment to Ash last night was that I have what feels like a set of abilities that don't feel like I could keep on using them if I wanted to, right, like, early. Whereas what's the classic in PoE? Like, wait until you're level 26 and maybe your build will start to make sense.
Or at the very least, like, You don't get a
16.
good skill until level 12.
Yeah, like
I feel like a lot of the warrior start abilities are real bad.
Yeah, and that may need adjusting because like double rolling
Earthquake
smash.
is real bad.
So I actually remember double rolling smash from the demo. I did not like it. I basically replaced all the supports in it on Sunder and had a much better time. Because like it's not a very fun ability and it takes forever to do.
Yep. And they made it so that Sunder can't be unlocked until God, I don't know, forever into the list.
Yeah, it's way down, like rank 5, whatever.
Yeah. And like
they need to swap it with Earthquake.
right. If they did, Warrior would instantly feel better. Because like Earthquake PoE 1 isn't a bad ability. Earthquake PoE 2 is an awful ability. It's basically push a button and then 2 seconds later you're going to get a payoff.
To be fair, that is also how it works in PoE 1.
I don't know, like it feels like
That's why no one uses it in PoE 1.
I like Bleed Quake is a thing, and like I guess you're only caring about it applying a bleed at that point, not the damage it's dealing. But like a lot of the best warrior stuff isn't until way late.
Yeah, and that feels like a thing that probably should be adjusted.
Like Stampede is apparently amazing, but it's going to be forever to get to there. I mean, having played Ruthless, this feels a lot like Ruthless.
That's what I said last night.
like Ruthless was absolutely their test run for this, because Ruthless is a game mode where they carefully ration power and also materials. And that's kind of what this feels like.
I do feel like I've had plenty of currency for upgrading my weapons and stuff in a way that I never did in PoE 1. I've been able, while leveling, to just find the orbs I needed to upgrade stuff or buy something that was halfway decent off of the vendor and then craft it a little bit and make it pretty good. That is definitely a new experience in PoE.
I've just not seen Regals. Like, Regals have not dropped for me at all.
Yeah, that
like,
also
I've gotten 2 of them.
That's the bottleneck for me as well. Like Regals are just not very common. Exalts are significantly more common. I've gotten like 3 of them and I'm level 13.
Right. Like I've had plenty of Exalts, more than enough to just like throw every single yellow that I end up using all the way up to 6.
That is not a PoE 1 thing you would do.
Nope.
Like I don't hate what I'm playing, but there's definitely been moments where I've contemplated just stopping for a while.
I mean,
and then I pushed through that issue and then I hit another wall later.
I mean, I've definitely run into some frustrations where it's like, okay, I need to just take a break for a minute because the answer to this problem is leveling up by grinding and going backwards, and I don't feel like doing that. And then I come back and I grind and then come back to the boss and it's fine. But I just wish I didn't have to. I would really love to be able to just smoothly level, and I hope that that's something that they can tune.
Yeah. Like there's definitely stuff where I feel like this is a tuning issue. But for me it was like my current favorite ARPG isometric looter stabber like game right now is Last Epoch, and Last Epoch gives me so much of what I want that it was going to be a really hard sell for PoE 2 to give me something that I was interested in. And I feel like this is actually accomplishing that, partly because it's doing some stuff that isn't the traditional, and so I don't have to compare it to, like I'm not just don't have to, but I'm not comparing it to Last Epoch, because they are very different games. They're not totally interchangeable.
I think I begin to understand why they didn't just want to put this over top PoE 1. They did actually build a very different game.
Yeah, they're doing something that is different in the ARPG space, which is not something that I expected from this team. And like I fully understand, like I fully understand and kind of expected that like both Bell and Grace would be like, this game's not doing it for me, because I'm like, this game is doing it for me like crazy. that must mean that your more traditional ARPG fans are like, ugh, why?
And I suspect that right now all the traditional ARPG fans are so hyped about this game that they're plowing through without second guessing too much. But this game also just does some wonderful quality of life things. Like, I logged out last night and I had a portal open to, an area that I had been clearing that was close to a boss. And when I logged back in this morning, my portal was still there. That was mind-blowing to me.
I'll give
That
you
is-
one
Also,
better.
let me just say
That is amazing,
I didn't
but the
even
whole
need the portal.
respawns. What? Oh, because they now have waypoints in every single place?
No, I logged out and I logged back in the place I was standing when I logged
Yes.
out in the middle of a map.
Yep.
And that's unheard of in this genre.
The other
But
thing
it's-
is, you hit the escape button, you pause.
Pause.
You can
Oh. This
pause
game
the
pauses.
game.
So good.
Like, there's so many little things like that where it's like, oh, this is just, you are, I did not expect the PoE studio, we made the Pathfinder of Diablo studio to be the ones to say, hey, let's rethink some of these like core genre conventions.
Yeah.
Like,
but
oh no, this game never pauses.
The respawning everything on death can die in a fire.
I don't love that. But yeah, to me, that that's a thing you could change in a patch, and they might. Like,
Well, they already backpedaled on the potions because originally potions weren't going to gain charges from killing things.
Yeah, that was how it worked in one of the demos. You had to like find a well in the zone to get more potions, and it was awful.
and I think that there's a version. I think that there's a version of this game where that could be cool, but it is wildly rebalanced from what it is currently doing.
I mean, as it is right now, like there's been several times that I've warped back to town to hit the well because I was just out of potion refills and I was clearing a map.
Oh, I never do that. I just die.
I've only run out during boss fights.
Same.
I mean, and I guess what I mean by that is that I only ever use potions in boss fights, and otherwise I just die.
No, I've walked into like silly mob slam attacks in things. It was like whatever.
I don't love that there's no. I think that their messaging for where you need to go to do things could be a lot better.
That feels like a bit of a step down from PoE 1, which is weird.
Which is weird. Because like right now I'm on a character in a particular area where it's like, find some guy's tools. Well,
Those
do I
are
need to do
bugged.
that in this map? Is this
Those
the
are
right map
bugged.
for that? I don't
Those
know.
don't exist right now.
I found the tools.
Yeah, well,
Like,
I mean, I'm sure I
Ridley's tools
can
or-
find the tools, but I don't know which map I'm supposed to be in to do it.
Okay, there's
Yeah, I cleared
Tinkerer's
this map, but I didn't
tools.
find any tools. But I also don't know if that's. Does that mean I didn't? Does that mean I didn't explore the map fully, or does that mean that I need to move on to the next map? I don't know.
Yeah, later on, there's like Tinkerer's tools that are a thing that show up on the map that you should be able to collect. Those don't exist yet.
Oh, I was talking about the blacksmith tools that unlock the crafting table.
Yeah, I have no idea where those are, and it's not. And it's one of those like I have found the entrance to the next map from the map that I thought this was in, but I don't know if I'm supposed to move on to that or if there's just something here. If I need to keep like fully exploring this map to find it.
Those are, I think, just in a building in that town.
Yeah, they're in a building that's on fire.
Yeah, well, and I guess what I mean is that it's just not messaged very well. Like, am I in the right place? I don't know. Maybe don't let me move on or put a marker on my map.
The thing that kind of drives me insane is that I can't pop open the map anywhere. Like
What?
I can only
What? I
yeah.
am
Like,
doing so right now as I play, just like PoE 1 lets you.
Yeah.
okay, when I hit the same hotkey I have always hit, it brings up a
I
thank
mean-
you for playing early access.
I changed the hotkey in PoE 1 to M because M for microtransactions is dumb. But I misserved microtransactions here too, so I had to change it again.
Oh God, I didn't even realize I had changed the hotkey.
I pressed down on the D-pad, and
Also, you can just click the button next to the quest, and it will bring up the map. That's what I've been doing because I have been too lazy to change my hotkey.
Similar vein, can I just say how much move while casting is like genre convention that didn't need to exist and yet does everywhere, and I think this game is dramatically better for letting me move while casting.
I'm back to playing my normal control scheme though, because WASD just didn't work for me.
Samesies. I tried it.
I haven't even tried it yet.
I'm all controller all the time.
I mean, that is more likely for me to, if I switch to anything, be controller.
Controller feels good. I might try WASD because I think that I could play WASD without like triggering tendinitis. But yeah, controller's been fine.
I am playing on a Steam Deck.
How's the game run on a Steam Deck?
I feel like I'm probably playing the PS1 version of this game a little bit. It's pixely, especially when there's a lot on the screen. And also, like, I am using incendiary rounds, and like fire effects look like tiny little orange pixels on the screen. And there are lots of fire effects.
I really would like to try this game on deck, but also I sort of hate playing ARPGs with a controller, so I may not bother. I tried playing Diablo 3 on the Switch, and it made me lose my mind, so it may not be worth it with this one. Maybe later.
Yeah, I'm just glad that they seem to legitimately support multiple different options well, which like PoE1 did too, but they've even expanded on that.
Yeah, I'm happy that there are options.
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited.
I'm really interested to see what the next league's going to be in PoE1.
Yeah,
I kind of hate that this is going to delay it by several months.
Yeah, I feel like I am never playing PoE1 again after
Yeah.
this. I mean, even though I have some concerns about this, the quality of life stuff and just it's prettier to look at. It has just some interesting things going on that PoE1 doesn't. I don't think I'm gonna play PoE1 again, and that's not really a high bar because I wasn't playing it very much recently anyway. But I think this is gonna be when there's something new to try in Path of Exile. It's gonna be this one that I try it in.
Yeah.
I think I'm still interested in PoE1 for several reasons, but I was talking with Tam last night. I am never going to play another minion build in PoE1 until they delete Animate Guardian from the game.
And maybe that's part of why I really don't want to play PoE1 because I love my minion builds.
It is the
but
they have come up with.
But there is talk that it's probably going to make a return to PoE2 at some point.
And
they come to their senses and don't do that.
Yeah, or I might just not play this game that much either because I still love Last Epoch more than anything. So
apparently, Jonathan really likes Animate Guardian.
Does he like Animate Guardian, or does he like the idea of Animate Guardian? Because the idea of Animate Guardian is fine.
Animate Guardian would be perfectly fine if if Animate Guardian functioned like the weapon-based minions do in PoE2, where it just summons itself and you have like another, item tree that you equip items to, and it if it dies, you just auto resummon it. The problem with Animate Guardian is losing, I don't know, all your loot if it dies.
That is a problem with it, yes.
I mean, it also has the dumbest method for summoning your Animate Guardian and equipping it.
There are lots of problems with Animate Guardian.
Also, specters are awful too, but specters are only not in this or early access because something went wrong with Bind Spectre.
Yes, but also they recognize part of the problem with specters, and you won't be able to drag them from zone to zone.
But will you just be able to select the stupid things from a list of available mob types?
Presumably not. It's for summoning specters of things you just killed. That's what it's for. They talked about it before. But even that, they don't want it to work like it did in PoE 1, which is why if Jonathan likes Animate Guardian, that's great. The idea of Animate Guardian is fine. Everything about it in PoE 1 sucks complete ass.
Yeah, my big problem with minions in PoE 1 is the fact that the most effective builds are not usually traditional minion builds. They're doing something like what Holy Symbol or whatever that was super popular this league,
Holy Relic, yeah.
which is only tangentially a minion.
Holy Relic is
Once
a
upon a
Cyclone build
time.
masquerading as a minion build.
I feel like this is a true statement for most PoE, is that the good builds are never the intuitive builds or the traditional
Mhm.
builds.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm still kind of feeling out here. Like I am about, well, I guess I don't need to estimate. I am 6.3 hours in total. And at 6.3 hours in PoE 1, my build would have made or broken me. And certainly if I were just messing around trying to figure stuff out, it would be like either you've come up with something that works or GTFO. And that is not the case here so far. That said, I'm doubling down on, boy, I want a quest marker because I'm still looking for those same tools that I've been looking for since the show began.
I am 14.5 hours in and 45 deaths in
Ooh, where's that data?
slash deaths.
I've died 34 times.
I'm only at 11.
I'm at 19. That seems fair.
I take wild risks.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately being on a Steam Deck, hard to use the keyboard. But I imagine I'm like 2 or 3 hours in and have probably like about 8 deaths.
Okay. Renly's tools in Agam Village. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
In a burning hut somewhere.
I have killed every enemy in this map.
They're inside a building, and sometimes the entrances to the buildings are not entirely clear that they're entrances.
Yeah. Wild.
Speaking of messaging, it's really cool that, like, if I look at my health bar, which is where I'm going to be looking if I'm fighting stuff, it's going to convey to me what statuses are affecting me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, that bar is green. I'm probably poisoned. Oh, that bar is on electricity. I'm probably shocked, aren't I? Oh, no, it's on fire.
Shock was sort of the invisible danger in PoE 1 because it could directly lead to your death, and you basically had no way of knowing it was on you.
Yeah. There's also debuff icons. I find those less helpful. But the, your health is doing a thing, seems bad, is really quite nice.
Apparently there are free identifiers in town. Today I learned.
Oh yeah, talk to the guy. He'll identify your stuff.
I like that. Doesn't seem to cost anything.
Doesn't cost anything.
I don't understand why they have identify scrolls in this game still.
Yeah.
I agree with you there, though.
I don't understand why games feel... I don't understand why these... genre convention, I continue to not understand. Why do you feel the need to have unidentified items?
It is also directly contrary to a thing they said earlier, which is that if they want stuff on the ground to matter more,
You need to be able to tell what
we're
it
not going to be
is.
able to identify all of it. We need to be able to tell what's good.
I get why they said that thing, but also it feels like nothing really good is dropping.
I mean, that statement was intended for later in the game.
Yeah,
As you get higher level, the yellows that drop will get better.
I mean,
And I'm
Nothing.
still early.
nothing good drops in Act 1 ever.
You say that?
I mean-
but I have a plus to minion skills helmet, so that definitely just dropped on the ground.
That's pretty sweet.
I'm also hearing from other people that plus skill level staffs are fairly common as well.
I've seen plus skill levels on gloves and on weapons so far. I have a necklace with plus spirit, and it is the reason why I can have vitality and clarity on my herald ability.
Mm.
But those are way weaker than they were in PoE 1. it is a non-zero amount of health and mana regen, but it is not enough to actually sustain your attacks.
Yeah, I got I've gotten a few mana regen things that have really left me not worried about mana, but I definitely felt the lack early.
Yeah, those can't roll on strength bases, and I only have strength. So, because strength right now is how I'm getting most of my health.
I have found just because of the way support gems work, attribute requirements become relevant immediately. Like,
yes.
This is not a later game thing. This is this is important from like level 6 thing.
I will say leveling feels much slower in this game than PoE 1 was. Again, this is probably the difference of a new game versus an old game.
Yeah.
Also, like, player knowledge is really important.
Yeah, also that.
Yeah, but because of the way that this game is set up, I don't know how you're going to shortcut it quite the way that we used to in PoE 1.
I'm sure the optimizers will figure out the most powerful early game builds.
Just in terms of like campaign structure, I think we'll see. Because again, like almost anything telling you have to go back to town still kind of doesn't require that.
Yeah, but there's no library in this game.
But there doesn't need to be, since uncut gems exist.
Yeah.
Right, but you actually have to get uncut gems to drop.
You do, yes. There are also quest rewards fairly often.
Yeah, they seem mostly reasonable. When I have needed to mess around with new skills, it hasn't taken a horribly long time to get one to drop.
I had a really long drought before I saw my first support gem.
I've been flooded by support gems. Like I have like 6 in my bank because I just don't have anything to use them on.
Yeah, I've got
uncut gems rather.
I've got uncut skill gems aplenty. Uncut support gems are pretty rare.
Yeah, I've gotten 6 total uncut support gems, and I've used all of them so far, and can definitely use the remaining ones if I get like at least 4 more.
I think I am rocking like 13 or 14 support gems.
Yeah, I've only seen 3 support gems, but I bought less. At what point do you start unlocking more support slots on your gems? I imagine that's a function of gem level.
I've not seen a single jeweler's orb. That's what those are used for.
Oh. Do the jeweler orbs persist even if I level up that gem with a higher uncut support gem?
Yeah, so there's basically 3 versions of jeweler's orbs. One that can add, the third
socket
slot?
3.
Yeah, socket 3, one that can add socket 4, and one that can add socket 5.
Neat.
But
presumably those will become more common later. But also, like, these attribute requirements on support gems are really not kidding around. Like, I don't know how I'm going to fit supports on all of these.
Are there such a thing as higher level than level 1 supports?
Yes, if you scroll down, you can see them. You can only see them when you have it in the gem cutting screen, unfortunately. But yeah, there are level 2 and level 3 supports.
Okay.
Yeah,
in one of the
clear,
play tests, they had a level 4 support as well, but those do not appear to have made the live game, or they're just not visible in the gem cutting screen in the live game. It wouldn't surprise me if those were just random drops in endgame or something.
Yeah, that would be where your empower support and things like that would be.
Yep.
I mean, it does leave them room to like have additional tiers if they want to add awakened back in. The one support used only thing sure is a thing sometimes.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about
real
that.
Fast.
I've had to juggle things around to try and come up with like the most optimal of the options that I have.
I would like to put controlled destruction on more things, but I cannot.
I think it makes an interesting build craft thing, and also, yeah, it seems like it's going to make Gemling Legionnaire very strong.
Wasn't Gemling Legionnaire the one that people were like, I don't know why you'd play this?
No, people were mostly like, we don't understand how strong this is because we don't understand the game yet.
That's fair.
At least that's what people with sense were saying.
Like, boy, the fact that I have that 3 more skill slots, it seems strong.
Well, I don't think we've seen what quality does on gems yet.
You can see, actually.
Yeah,
you can just tells you. For example, Flame Wall increases the magnitude of ignites with quality.
Love Flame Wall's so
Explosive
good.
explosive grenade increases the cooldown recovery rate.
So that bit of previously entirely hidden information is no longer completely hidden information.
Love it.
Huh. Okay, so this is
Imagine
a thing
that.
I just noticed.
Mhm.
Support gym capacity.
Yep, that's what I meant. For every 5
How-
points in a stat, you can equip 1 support gem of that color.
Oh.
That's why. So you see the other thing Gemling has there going on.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Does that work? Do we
presumably.
that
we
would
don't
be
know yet.
wild. That would be absolutely wild. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, Gemling Legionnaire seems very strong. Because one of the Gemling Legionnaire's thing is you just get to use your highest stat for all requirements.
All gem requirements. Doesn't work for gear.
Doesn't work for gear. Oh no.
I mean, that is important if you're going a specific route on the tree.
Yeah.
This is reasonable, but I was already going to be a very strength dex character.
Yeah, that getting nerfed at the last minute is real painful, and I don't know how I'm gonna work that.
I'm sure it'll be fine. I mean,
What thing?
Titan went from double stat requirements to triple stat requirements. But
Yep.
again, we don't know what the high level stat requirements on two-handers are going to look like.
Yeah, but like even on the ones that I can get, they're like, I don't know, 60 or so strength required to equip them now at like level 25, which is going to be real painful considering like I've only taken strength nodes and I'm only at 84 strength. I'm absolutely going to have to go take beef. Beef being a node on the tree that is hilariously named. It's just all strength. It's like 25 strength in this game, I think. It's 30 in PoE 1.
Yes, that big stat nodes were 30 in PoE 1. I have played a stat stacker in PoE 1, but it was int stacking, not strength.
It'll be interesting to find out if the Titan ability also affects attribute nodes.
I think people have said it doesn't affect the stat selectable ones.
What a bummer.
Again, though, how any of this works.
Yeah.
I am amused by the data mining Easter eggs. All of the unimplemented ascendancies and ascendancies for unimplemented classes got fishing names. This is not a data mining Easter egg, but on the passive tree, you can see an area that is definitely in a claw shape. It has nodes that say things like Swift Claw, Tough Claw, Sharpened Claw. All they do right now is increase attack damage, but you bet these are going to change when Druid goes in.
It's a giant claw, and several of them are called things like Shapeshifter.
Yes. So I think there is some, there are some very obvious like placeholder things on the tree. Like damage with flails. Flail is not currently a weapon type. Damage with daggers. Dagger is not currently a weapon type.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
We'll see.
So the only other topic that I had tonight was just something that I found amusing. I don't know. I don't think most of you are quite as online as I am half the time. But are any of you aware of the OnlyFangs guild in one of the WoW hardcore servers?
That's a hilarious name, and no, I'm not.
Yeah, so it's led by the streamer named SodaPoppin', and it is a streamer guild of just a bunch of streamers, and it is a horde guild, aka OnlyFangs.
Okay.
But the thing that I find hilarious is it has been organized in a way so that there's a Tauren team and a troll team and an undead team and an orc team, and they're all competing against each other even though they're all in the same guild. And they're basically like doing things during the week to score points. And then at the end of the week there's like this, it reminds me of like bidding on loot, but they fill the bank full of random items that they gift wrap, and to let people ungift wrap one of them, and then everyone has to bid on the whole package. And it's mostly a lot of BOE, blues and purples, but like this is a classic WoW hardcore server. So like, what Kang's Decapitator was a thing that was heavily bid on during the one I watched. But what's even more hilarious is they've all taken to role playing. So like trolls are role playing as traditional WoW trolls, orcs are, the idiots of the group. Taurens are the peace loving, big stompy people. So it's just kind of funny to watch this play out. Like, I did not know this was a thing until I happened to catch the tail end of one of these presentation ceremonies. It was hilarious. But also, there's been, drama over like people potentially killing their healers in dungeons and things like that.
Oh no.
But yeah, like it's just an interesting idea of having like this event, because there was another streamer thing that may still be going on where somebody was running like a private Grand Theft Auto server and like had a whole role play Grand Theft Auto server that was nothing but streamers. And this is kind of that same idea, but it's funny. I mean, like, would I watch much of it? No, I'm not really terribly interested in hardcore WoW scene, but it was entertaining enough for me to have brought it up.
I'm still amazed that hardcore WoW is a thing, like just overall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like it would be real hard. I have not been prompted to roll a character, because I know when we played WoW Classic when it launched, I died plenty just in that short period of time. I guess, do we have any other short topics, or do we have a relatively short show?
I got one thing. Speaking of random things on the internet, a game called Atlyss came into early access this week.
I've been wanting to ask you about that game because it has shown up in my Steam, and I saw that you had it and had played it.
If it shows up in your Steam recommendations, it means you have too many furry friends.
or maybe a furry yourself.
Anyhow, this game is pretending to be an MMO that didn't exist, kind of. Like, it's much more action-y than any actual MMO that predates, like, quite frankly, Guild Wars 2.
But it's also got like such a throwback to the old MMO style of like quest and zone.
So Steam claims this is relevant because it's similar to Enshrouded and Elder Scrolls Online.
I'll give you one of those, but Enshrouded, no.
Yeah, like, so you start off as a novice, I think they call you.
Yeah,
basically,
a novice.
You are classless for the first 10 levels, and then you get to choose which class you want to be as you have gone through a bunch of stuff with some fairly basic skills.
Okay, I'm down for being an Onion Knight.
Including a dungeon, which is very funny. Dungeons are interesting. It's like the most important thing for the first couple of levels is which weapon are you using, because all of them play very differently. This game also has an extremely long dash and double jump by default.
The dash is surprisingly quick.
You can use this to get out of the way when enemies are attacking you, or you can see that they are turning purple and use your extremely generous parry window to stun them by blocking their attacks.
The parry window is extremely generous, but I need to emphasize that combat in this game is extremely unforgiving. You cannot take very many hits at the very start at all. So that generous parry window is necessary.
It's very necessary. There was definitely a while where like I was just literally like, I am going to do a jump attack through this group of enemies, dash to the other side of the room, turn around and repeat that, because it was incredibly safe and I was on the last of 3 waves and did not want to die.
Or you can just use a bow. That's a thing you can do.
I don't feel like the bow does enough damage. The bow does not do very much damage. Well, the bow has incredible damage drop off, at least for its auto attack.
It really does.
So
the ranged weapons in this game are, I'm not going to say they're ranged in name only, because that's not true, but they reward you being a lot closer. My favorite of these is the bell. Bells are hilarious weapons. This is better than any geomancer has ever used a bell.
Is this like using the drum in Monster Hunter?
It's a lot like using
Yes.
hunting horn in Monster Hunter. Well, no, because it is
the
a
horn,
ranged
yeah.
weapon. It is a ranged weapon. Like
Okay,
you shoot
so you're not
sound
just running up
waves.
and banging people with it. Okay.
But it's a two-handed bell, and like it's not a super long range, but it like puts out a sound cloud that just does persistent damage over time. It's awesome. The abilities you get are at the very beginning are like you can get recover, and you can get a speed boost, and you can get throw rock, which is a taunt, which is very useful.
Speed boost is a racial skill, but all the racial skills are learnable from skill tomes later. The life drain I got was also a racial skill.
Oh, right. That is also important. Skills are drops, because this is wanting to mimic very old MMOs.
Mm-hmm.
So I played a little bit in single player. Then we played a bit in multiplayer. Fun game.
The current hosting architecture allows for up to 16 people to join your server.
Which
But,
feels
like,
excessive.
I don't know. It definitely feels like somebody has been like, we're designing an MMO and we don't want to host an MMO server. So here, have the ability to host an MMO servers from Steam. But characters are persistent across all of the shards. So like I can take my character to anyone else's game. Also, you can play Cute Deer Boy, which is what I've done. I now have explosive bomb, and I'm a rogue. So I am fitting my stereotype here. The dungeons are also interesting. Like you go into rooms that like lock you into a series of waves, and then you may have to do like some jumping puzzle to find the next key you need to unlock the next area. Also, the first boss was a heck of a trial.
That's not supposed to be the first boss.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, did we do things out of order?
We did things out of order.
Whoops. It was a heck of a wake-up call. We were probably supposed to have our class skills by then, weren't we?
It would have been a suggestion, yeah.
But yes, Atlyss, spelled Atlyss.
I may have to try this out. It sounds entertaining at the least.
It's also pretty cheap at only $10.
There's also that, yes.
It is, yes. Hit me up if you want to play multiplayer.
Well, that was probably a show. Any final thoughts about anything?
It
I've
is
been
weird
downloading.
that they managed to serve a game for this many players and have it run this smooth. Like that's just a thing that I still cannot believe.
I'm impressed.
It's amazing.
I fully expected to hear that the servers were still on fire. So
It
sounds like they never were truly on fire. So.
Whatever dark bargain they made, it is working.
It is purely because Bell made that blog post.
Probably.
Also, I've been downloading Path of Exile II since, I don't know, approximately 10 to 15 minutes into recording, and I'm a quarter of the way done downloading.
It is a big game.
Very large.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
See you.